Following Michigan State's exhibition loss to UConn, Tom Izzo had the following to say about the Spartans' shooting guard situation. Carter, I'm going to play the clip from you. This comes from Luminati, Lumen Kitty, whatever you want to call him. He was the one who shared the video, and I'll go ahead and play it.
I'm concerned that the two, we've got somebody that is a little more consistent. And the scary part is the freshman came in and played pretty well. He looked aggressive. He looked comfortable. And so who knows? I said he could be a Max Christie-like player. Um, Maybe he will be. You didn't think that?
Carter, that to me.
We've got a.
Sorry, my phone is bugging right now.
Guy goes to play his first clip and just can't get to the finish line.
I'm feeling like a boomer, but Carter, that is the voice of a coach who sounds morose, dejected, crestfallen at losing a guy unexpectedly to the first round draft. A guy who's coming to terms with the fact that there is no Jace Richardson on this roster. A guy who is seeing this bed that he has made with 30 million underneath the mattress and none of it being used. And now he's got to lay in it. Love Izzo. I will still support our Spartans. I will still say go green, go white, Spartan dogs, woof, woof.
Mhm.
However, I'd be lying if I said I love this from our head ball coach. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little alarmed that he sounds so sad already. Carter, what do you make of this whole exchange from Izzo?
So first things first, my guy was dejected. That's the first thing I heard because there was like a little bit of realization over there. He's like, oh man, this is what I got. Like I'm getting this from Kurt Tang and Trey Ford, and I talked about this with Greg, but here's how it is. I'm willing to go out and try to get ahead of things. Honestly, this might be the best thing for Kurt Tang's career in general. Me getting out, being in on him as a player. I just don't see it necessarily as a starter on this team. To be honest with you, I think there's a role for him on this team, but I don't think it's as a starter. So you go to your next option, Trey Ford. Trey Ford's a player that will. He hasn't seen a shot he doesn't love. He doesn't do anything else defensively or on passing, rebounding, any otherwise. He is who I would create in a lab if I wanted to make a player that would piss off Tom Izzo. Like I can feel his blood boiling when he watches Trey Ford hoop, but there's a role for Trey Ford on this team. That's how you get to this point where you're talking about Jordan Scott. Now, Jordan Scott is a freshman. He's about 6'5", 6'6", long arms, top 50, sorry, not top 50, but I think it's like a top 75 recruit, top 100 for sure. A player that, you were looking at coming into the season that might project to be a good multi-year guy, get his feet wet this year, have a role, but kind of just use this year to get better, improve his body, and, figure things out at a high major Division I level. Um, he showed some things in that UConn game, man. I was talking to a lot of people about that game, and the defensive stuff really stuck out to me. I thought he was incredible on the defensive end. I think he was at every spot he needed to be. His rotations were crisp. He had 3 steals in that game. He used his frame. He competed even though he's a little bit more frail. And then you know what? Like we made 4 3-point shots in that game. Jordan Scott made one of them. He had a nice little move to the basket. I just think at this point he brings something that the other guys don't bring. I think he's a better basketball player than Kurt Tang. I also think that unlike Trey Fort, Izzo's not gonna wanna, you know, retire early by letting Trey Fort put him in an early retirement grave, right? Now, like I said, Trey Fort needs to have a role on this team. He's a guy who's willing to take shots and can make shots. But I think sooner rather than later, the hope would be that Jordan Scott takes a step and is able to start for this basketball team. I think that would be best, or at least get the bulk of the minutes at the two. And it was something I talked about with Greg going into the season. Like you're looking at the roster, and quite frankly, straight up, when you're looking at it, it's not the most enticing roster, right? Like
Mhm.
there's some holes in this thing. So you need the freshmen to step up. A lot of people thought it was going to be Cam Ward. He has not done it yet. I think he will do it. It's 2 games in, right? He's got time. But I think the world where Michigan State is the better basketball team is when these freshmen come along, maybe a little bit quicker than others would have anticipated. Once again, you know, the thing I'm looking at this too is like Tom Izzo compares him to Max Christie. Max Christie was a freshman that came in and played like 30 minutes a game. right away. I don't know if it was 30. I'd have to actually look it up, but he was a starter, high minutes, high usage guy, and he got that role. And I think Jordan Scott, given the roster we're looking at, and the fact that Trey Holland left us, miss you stink, Jiggy. Um, I think we're at a spot where Jordan Scott's I think, should have a bigger role with this team.
I agree with you, even with someone who was also a Kurtang believer. I think that had to do with his high school tape when you
Are you
saw
still a
his
Kurtang believer?
no.
It's just it's not even like the shot not falling. It's just like he just I think he makes the wrong decisions. And, you know, like Trey Ford, I don't think he brings much else either. I don't want him to dribble. I don't think he's that great of a
Mhm.
defender. Like, it's just, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think with or excuse me, with Kurtang, I maybe oversimplify by saying I'm no longer a believer. I don't think he's the answer as the starting two guard right
Right.
now. Has there ever been, can you think of an example in in Izzo's tenure of having a player, so like a similar situation where, top 75 recruit comes in, doesn't play much his freshman year and then explodes as a sophomore and is like all of a sudden a starting caliber player? Like, has that happened before that Izzo could point to, or even that Michigan State fans could point to like have any hope for Kurtang? Because that to me is where I'm starting to fall short a little bit, where I'm like, huh. Did I lean a little too heavily into thinking like, oh, Izzo can just wave his magic wand and turn this guy into a starting caliber player based on, he has some pedigree to him and everything. Had was an accomplished high school player. Like, is there something that Izzo can just, do his little player development thing and all of a sudden he's ready to go? Like, are there examples of that in the past?
The first one that came to mind was Travis Trice. Like by the time, he's not Trice. Don't get me wrong, like that. But I'm talking about like there are some examples of like player development where guys have gotten better over their career. I mean, I think to like big men like Xavier Tillman was one that really got a lot better at Michigan State. Ended up
Cash
really
made
good.
him. If I'm not mistaken, Cash. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off.
you're good.
I think, but Cash made a massive leap from freshman to sophomore year, if I recall correctly. But like Cash probably played more than Kurtang his freshman year,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Also folks saw it with Cash. It was just like Tum Tum was on the team, so like that's like okay, Cash should have been 30 minutes a game the moment he stepped on campus. To be honest with you,
Mhm.
but I do think there's examples of it, and like I think you put it correctly when we say like we're out or we're like maybe less belief in Kurtang. I think it's less belief right now that he's a starter on this basketball team. I think he's a bench role guy, and you want other guys to step up. And I'll take a point from Greg that I thought was really good as well. I'll throw Kurtang in this fold here too. Trey Ford drives Tom Izzo nuts. Also, like we have a year of Trey Ford. We have 1 year of Trey Ford. Jordan Scott's going to be a multi-year guy. Kurt Tank's, I'm assuming, going to be here unless he wants to go get Thad Matta to save his career. That might happen. But like outside of that, those guys, we got to see what we have with those guys before Josiah Jervis decides to pull up. I'll see you next Wednesday, Josiah. Fine. With that said, like you got to kind of see what you have with those guys. And you know what, against a team like UConn, I was very impressed with Jordan Scott in his minutes. And you know, in order to keep my coach in good spirits, because if that keeps happening at the two spot, we're not going to get Izzo to Big Ten play. He's not going to make it. My guy
Mhm.
was dejected. He was sad. He looked like me like 2 weeks ago when I thought I had one more slice of pizza, but then I forgot that I gave the last slice of pizza to my son, and I was devastated. Dropped to my knees like the little Dirk meme. I was in my kitchen in shambles or something like it. Eventually, it could break a man down. Izzo's gonna have to figure out something at that two spot.
So here's honestly how he should probably how I would address it if I was him. And hopefully this is not it always annoys me when we get people in the comments that are like, "Oh, if only Matt Painter would listen to two bozo podcasters like you." Anytime we say this is what I would do if I was the coach. So just know, Michigan State fans, I'm on your side. I love Tom Izzo, but if I was him, I would go in and make that change now and get him into the starting lineup against Colgate because you got Arkansas coming over the next weekend. Like you at least want to let him get his feet wet trying to play 20, 25 minutes against a Patriot League team before you throw him in there and say, like, all right, go guard Malik Thomas. But Jordan Scott will probably embrace that. Like, I'm with you. Those defensive tools are great. They're there. Like, he's got the wingspan, he's got the quickness, he has the instincts. And I think that alone should elevate him well, maybe not that alone, but that should earn some more favor, earn a longer leash than someone like Trey Fort, who is just here on a 1 year deal, is doing, And I'm just thinking, like, maybe you attribute. you might be able to get that game against Arkansas and the Brez. Like, I don't think you just have to look at that as a schedule loss. I'm looking at when you play Kentucky on November 18th. Where's that one at? That one's in the Garden for the Champions Classic. That one might just be a schedule loss. Like, you just look at that as like, yeah, we're probably not winning that one. But I'm just thinking, like, start throwing Jordan Scott in the fire now and hope that he at least gets that. Like, maybe Michigan State rides like a good Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr game to beating Arkansas. Like Izzo, again, Izzo's going to game prep for that one and like he knows Cal's tendencies, is going to have the best version of his team for that. But maybe like Scott's going to have some struggles early on as he's figuring it out against high major competition. And maybe he has some confidence builders in some of these bye games. And maybe he is part of a team that gets blitzed in the Garden against Kentucky. But I still think it could pay dividends throughout the season if Izzo makes that pivot sooner rather than later.
100%. And I listen to your point, the best point out of that great point, sooner rather than later. Tough non-con coming up, no time to play games. I'll be looking forward to what happens in the first game and moving forward as I got to watch Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas and Coach Cal, my enemies, I'm afraid, coming to the Breslin Center. But listen, anything can happen at the Breslin Center. I think anything can happen with this team. I'm looking forward to how the shooting guard spot, I think, matures throughout the season.